This is the 2020 LEGO Star Wars Set 75283, the Armored Assault Tank, or AAT. It retailed for $40 and included 286 pieces, slightly more pieces than the Republic Fighter tank currently on shelf, but still probably not quite as worth it from a financial standpoint. Now, this set capitalized on the Clone Wars mania by including this new Ahsoka figure for Season 7, and of course one of her 332nd Troopers. So far, the only set to have one of these, although there will be a battle pack of them, albeit with a slightly different design, and we will get into that. Just 4 minifigures in this set, the first of which are 2 of these AAT driver battle droids, and fun fact about these, they are actually the exact same markings in universe as the Kashyyyk battle droids, so I don't know if they just repurposed the tank driver battle droids because they sort of had some camo. Whatever the reason, if you need some battle droids for your Kashyyyk mock, this set will do you fine. Of course, they are also marked for their role as AAT drivers, and I think they look pretty good here. There's a new Ahsoka for 2020 in this set, and boy is it a nice figure. She's of course dual wielding her lightsabers, but if we move those out of the way and perhaps remove her headpiece, we can get a better look at that glorious printing that she gets. My goodness, does that ever look good. I just really love the color meshing here with the navy blue, the gray, and the orange of her skin, plus that silver print that continues all the way down to her legs. It just looks great. Back printing, of course, as well, is nothing too special, but it looks good. She's, of course, got 2 faces as well, one angry face and one more relaxed, confident face. I think those represent her moods in Season 7 of the Clone Wars pretty well. Overall, a great figure, also one that was available in the Duel on Mandalore set that was only $15 later on, so there was even a cheaper way to get this figure. Now, perhaps the most exciting figure in this set for most is this 332nd Clone Trooper, based off of Season 7 of the Clone Wars, obviously, then when they painted their helmets to look more like Ahsoka. I think the print comes across really well on this. This is probably one of my favorite Clone Troopers LEGO has ever made, if not my favorite, just because of how well that print is represented on here and just how good this helmet looks in general. Add that to the regular 501st body and legs, and you've got a really nice looking Clone Trooper. It's a shame that this is the only one of these that will ever be released in this exact design. There will be a battle pack of these with a Swamp Speeder. Of course, you know, the AAT and the Swamp Speeder got into some serious battles during the Siege of Mandalore, but those ones will have the helmet holes and therefore will look a little bit different. For those who really care, that is going to matter. I definitely will still get some of those battle packs since I don't mind the helmet holes a ton, but man, you just got to admit this helmet is perfect the way it is. He's got a Tamara Morrison face underneath, like most Clone Troopers nowadays. Taking a look at the AAT itself now, and boy, let's just get the flaws out of the way first. This set has certainly taken its lumps in the community for its awkward design choices. Chief among them is this absolute behemoth of a cannon. I mean, look how far that sticks out. It is comically large, and what is so comical about it is it could have been so much shorter. Like, there's so many extra pieces in here that didn't need to be this long. I just don't know how this happens. It's so inaccurate to the design of the tank in universe. The gun should really only come to about the front of the base, the chassis. My goodness, it is at least 30% longer than the rest of the tank itself. Just wild that this actually slipped into the final set. I don't understand it. We usually don't see designs that inaccurate make it into a final set, so I have no idea what happened here. The other obvious problem is the guns here are totally inaccurate on the side. For some reason, they put the short one on the bottom when it should go on the top. Thankfully, the easy fix for that is to just flip them over. That is something that you can just do. I also think this mounting for the gun here, this dark gray part, is just too large as well, and you kind of see why they had to do that when you look at the design of it, but I still think they should have tried to work around that. Should have been a redesign in there somewhere to figure that out, because it just also is. We do get a lot of good movement on this guy, though. You can even get it slightly backwards if you want. Obviously, not going to want to do that, but it is there. Turret, of course, can go all the way around very easily. We have a hatch that opens up, and you can easily fit one of your battle droids inside there like they are commanding this tank. Now, I have found that it looks better to seat them in there so that they don't stick up too high. And since the LEGO battle droids are so foldable, you can stick one of them in there and close the hatch if you really want to. If you just need a place to store your battle droid, you can have him in there if you really want to. The other way you can place a battle droid in here is by opening the hatch in the front. Now, This is not an accurate 2 universe hatch. It should be in the rear. However, they've decided to do it in the front, presumably for design reasons. He's got a couple control panels on the side there, so not a completely barren cockpit. And I think his placement is fairly accurate as the driver, even though there is supposed to be a rear hatch for him to enter through and not a front hatch. But we can close that up like he's just not even there. And I suppose it is a good time to talk about the things I really do love about this AAT, which is overall the chassis of this thing, the main body of it, I think looks outstanding. I don't think they've ever captured the curves of this thing as well as in this set. Especially in the animated show, this thing is very, I don't know, I guess bulbous and rounded and sort of alien looking. And I think that's just so well represented by these large curved pieces and the way they kind of got these angles here. It just looks great. Certainly the best looking AAT in that regard. We also have these little piston things represented here. Although my least favorite thing about this is that they can rotate a little too freely. Those aren't supposed to move in universe. And if we look at the back of the tank, there's nothing going on there. That's kind of another design, I don't know if you would say flaw, but more of a design choice not to fill out the back, not to put a hatch or anything there. So unfortunate. The cannons on the side can of course swivel as much as you want. However, they can also break off fairly easy since they're only just connected by a few studs there. So if you shear it at all, really, that will pop off. Now, you might not have even seen the spring-loaded shooters on this thing yet, and that's because they are pretty well integrated. They do show here at the front just little red dots, but you could, honestly imagine those as headlights or something. And these little Technic lift arms here, almost unnoticeable and kind of hard to reach for adult fingers, are the mechanism for firing. If you were even able to catch that spring-loaded shooter flying out of there, they do go quite fast. Another fragility point on here is these antennae. Now this one is a bar design that goes into a hollow stud. However, even though I think this piece was included to address the fragility of antennas, it still falls off an awful lot. So mission not really accomplished there for LEGO. They still need to figure out a better workaround for these fragile antennas. So all in all, this is a really interesting AAT, considering it has some of the best design choices I've seen in an AAT. Genuinely some of the best curves and shapes on an AAT that we've ever seen. But it also has some of the most confounding design choices we've seen on one of these. Like seriously, I just can't explain or imagine why some of these design choices were made. And this is one of the rare sets that I will actually display modified on my shelf. For example, this is what I modified mine to look like, just using pieces that I already had at home. Of course, flipping those cannons around on the side and just kind of taking a lot of the length out of that gun there. You could probably do better, and there are, I'm sure, instructions online of how to modify it and make it look really good, but these are just pieces that I kind of had laying around, and it already looks, I think, significantly better. Normally I don't like to do that, but this set just can't display like this. It's just, there are just some atrocious design choices here that I genuinely don't understand how they made it through. Overall, the minifigure selection is fairly solid. You get some good ones, but it is hard when you compare this to the Republic fighter tank that came out a couple years later that had 3 clone troopers, another great Jedi minifigure, plus the 2 battle droids. This obviously is missing 2 clone troopers off of that mark. Now, the battle droids are variants, which is nice, but I still don't feel like it really measures up to that newer fighter tank. It is a good point to mention, though, that this is a great counterpart set to the fighter tank. They are similarly priced, similarly sized, and great vehicles to naturally match up against each other. I feel like they fill the same niche in their respective armies. So if you're going to get one, you should probably end up getting both. Overall, I think this is a light recommend, mostly because of the exclusive figure of that clone trooper. But overall, if you modify this, you can make a very beautiful AAT out of one that is very close to being amazing, but just has some really weird things going on with it. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.